Eli Paley is the head of a publication called Mishpacha, which he publishes all over the world, the Jewish word, the jaredí word, in English and Hebrew, and now maybe in Spanish.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. And he is also the founder of the Jaredí Institute. Let's start first by talking about the Mishpacha publication. How did you come with the idea of a Jaredí magazine?
Okay, so that's an interesting story. How did I get into the magazine? I wasn't the one who started. The magazine Mishpacha started 29 years ago. This year we're going to celebrate our 30th anniversary. And after the second issue, it started as a monthly. It was the first Jaredí glossy magazine, because before what exists in the Jaredí society was only Jaredí newspapers, not magazines. And we started something that called Mishpacha. The concept was to provide a family magazine that will gear to the entire family, the father, the mother, the kids, with papers, with pictures, with the articles, recipes. And after the second issue, at that time I was learning in Hebron, Yeshivat Hebron, in Hebron Yeshiva in Jerusalem, and I got married. And I wanted very much to continue to stay learning in Yeshiva, because that was my love. I love my Yeshiva. But we had only one problem, that the Yeshiva didn't have a kollel. Kollel is Yeshiva for married people. So some Yeshivot have Yeshiva for students, and then if you got married, you can continue. In Hebron Yeshiva, they say if you want to continue, it's okay, but nobody is going to pay you. And I said, I don't care. I want to learn here, and Hashem Ya'azor, it will be okay. My wife just started to study psychology in a college, so she also couldn't work. And I sit in Yeshiva, and then somebody came to me and said, you want to do some side job as a student? I said, I'll be happy. He said, do you have a car? I said, yes. He said, what do you think about distributing Mishpacha? I said, that's a great idea. And I started to work for Mishpacha. I had an old car called Susita. It was an old Israeli car at that days. And I took the job. I was very happy because it allowed me to continue to stay and learn in Yeshiva. Nobody was paying me, and I was getting this job that took me 3 days a month to work, because it was a monthly that came like 10 times a year. So each time when the publication came, I had to go to the printer to carry the magazines in my Susita, to go to the stores, and to carry the papers from store to store. That took me like a day and a half, very intensive. And then on the rest of the months, on the 3 hours, Friday, noontime, I was going to the stores to collect the returns and the money. So this is how I started with Mishpacha. Always I'm saying that my love of Torah brought me to be part of Mishpacha. So it took me to work 3 days a month, and I was earning twice what someone got in kollel for the entire month. So I was very happy that I could be free, sitting and learning. Later on, the publisher offered my father to buy the Mishpacha, and my father... So he came to my father, he said, your son works for us, what do you think about buying it? And my father was someone in business and also very involved in the community and doing chesed and helping. So he said, you know what, if my son works, then I'll buy it. It was a very small publication, and he bought it, and the rest is history, because then I was asked to run the business, and I didn't have any experience, and that wasn't my plan. I was planning to sit and learn in yeshiva, but my father took it, so I came to help my father, and slowly it became what it is today.
But it is a big thing today, because you have how many people working for Mishpacha?
We have 160 people working for us, both for Hebrew and English, in Israel and in New York. And in New York, we have an office in New York. And we have another 180 contributors, freelancers, that writing for us beside the people who are working in a part-time, full-time job for the publication. So today it's a huge publication, Baruch Hashem. And we were able to provide the Jaredí society a high-quality publication that was very unique, that people can get something that they don't have to read other papers. They can read something, but in the same level that they can get when they are getting secular papers. When we are writing about psychology and education, so we have top experts writing for us. Feature stories, we have writers going all over the world to cover Jewish stories, even some danger places sometimes. So this is really a privilege that we were able to bring to our society something that it's very Jewish oriented, but in a very high quality. We are not compromising in the standard of writing, editing, graphic, pictures, recipes, everything has to be done on a top level. And we call it Kiddush Hashem, that the jaredí community is getting such a publication. Something else that makes Mishpacha very unique is the concept. We initiate the concept of having a family publication. So every week the publication contains 3-4 magazines, main magazine, a family magazine that deals with education, psychology, health, recipes, couplehood, etc. A kids magazine, a very special with cartoons and articles and feature and science, and every week 32 pages. And in Hebrew we have also a jaredí newspaper that deals with Israeli politics and something like this. We have some periodicals, history, research, business, all kinds. So the concept that every Shabbat when someone is buying Mishpacha, he gets something for the entire family, and after the meal the family can sit in the couch and everybody have what to read, and they can share things that they read in Mishpacha. We have readers that grew up with us. I just met a lady here in Mexico. She's a principal in a school, and she said she's today 40 years old. She said, I'm reading Mishpacha since I was 10 years old. So like she grew up over the years with this publication. Something else that makes Mishpacha very unique is that we belong to the entire community. We don't have any politic affiliation. We are not Hasidim, and we are inclusive. Everybody can find himself in the publication. Every Chashuv Rav, every important rabbi can be in our publication. So we interview Rabbi Ovadia Yosef a few times in the past, and Rabbi Admor Misatmar from the other side, and other rabbanim. So everybody feels that Mishpacha, and this is a very unique message to the community, to unite the community, that everybody that belongs to the Jewish community, the Yirei Hashem, the Torah observant community, can feel part of this publication.
Wonderful. And how did you come to funding the Israel Jaredí Institute? What was it?
The Jaredí Institute for Public Affairs.
For Public Affairs. Why is it for Public Affairs, and how can the Jaredí meddle with Public Affairs?
Okay, so that's another story. My father, my beloved father, passed away 4 years ago, and he was a very special person that he gave all his life. He was a businessman, but he was everything. He was a social worker, not officially, but a social worker, so he helped widows, and he helped women that agunot that couldn't get a get. He was fighting for them, and he was adopting kids from the street that their parents threw them out, so they stood by our house, and he was involved in everything. And when he was my role model, and ish kulo chesed, with love of forgiveness and Torah. For instance, where we lived in Jerusalem in Har Nof, in a neighborhood called Har Nof. So one day, an important rabbi came to the neighborhood, and he wanted to live in the neighborhood, and he was looking for a place for his kollel, for his yeshiva, a small kollel, and nobody was ready to let him use their synagogue to stay with his kollel. So he knew my father for very long ago, because they were working together 40 years ago in Rosh Ha'ain to do something for outreach, for Kiruv to Yemenite community there. My father also was involved in this. So he came to my father and said, do you have any idea where can I stay? And my father, that was his keyword, he said, what's the problem? I have a second floor, we have 2 floors, you can bring your yeshiva to my house. And the next day, my mother walked in the morning, and she found a yeshiva in the basement of our house. So that was my father. Or another story that Rosh Yeshiva from Be'er Yaakov, his name was Rav Moshe Shmuel Shapira. He had a yeshiva in Be'er Yaakov. It's a city, it's a small city, small town in Israel. And he left the yeshiva, they split, and he moved to Jerusalem. So he rented some bet medrash, and after a while he had to leave this place. So they took everything from all the bet medrash, they put on a truck, but he didn't know where to go. So he asked people, what can I do? He said, you should go to Yudke. That was my father's name, Yudke. Yehuda, but the nickname was Yudke. And he came to my father, I didn't know him before. And he said, Rabbi Paley, can you help me? I don't know where to go. Do you have any idea? Whom should I talk to? And he said, Ma ba'aya, what's the problem? My father was also a constructor, a builder. So he had a new building in Harnov. He said, I have now 2 apartments in the first floor that I didn't sell them yet, and it's free. Tomorrow I'm going to bring the people to destroy all the walls, and 1 apartment will be Bet Medrash, and the second will be dining room, and you have yeshiva, and that was happened. The next day, the people came, and after, so that was my father. So when he passed away, I felt that I have to do something to continue his way of giveness and taking care about the community. So I decided that I did enough for the business, which is a very successful business, and now it's about time to do something for the community. So we start a family foundation after my father's name. It's called the Paley Family Foundation. And the main goal of this foundation is really to try to encourage and to help different initiatives and projects in the Jaredí society. And today the Jaredí community in Israel is a very fast-growing community. Just to give you some figures, today more or less 10% of the Jewish population in Israel are Haredim, but in the first grade, in the schools, almost 30% of kids in Kita Aleph, in the first grade, are Haredim, which means that within 15 years or 20 years, we are talking about 25% of the Jewish kids are going to be Haredim. And that's something that needs a strategic plan about what should be done in order to take care about this community that have very special definitions, the way they are living, the way that they are working, their school system, everything is very unique. And I decided that we have to do some think tank, this is the Jaredí Institute, that we are funding it. So working together with the government and with Jewish foundations to provide them research, database, policy papers. So we started here this 2.5 years ago. Today we have 14 people working for us at the Institute, top professors from Tel Aviv University, researchers from the Israeli Bank that join us, secular experts, and some other experts working for us, and also Jaredí experts that are not from the academia, but they are from the field. We have a guy, a fellow in our institute, that he was a mayor in the city of Beitar. So one of our first projects was that we did with the government a masterhead plan for the upcoming 20 years of the housing for the Jaredí society. We're talking about 200,000 apartments that will be needed. Just to give you an idea, so there is a Jaredí city called Elad. Okay? So Elad has around 8,000-9,000 houses. So talking about 200,000, it's almost talking about 15 new towns or 12 to 15 new towns in 20 years, which is a crazy number. So that's something that you have to plan, and you have to plan in advance. You can't just wake up one morning and say, oh, hello, we have... And one of the reasons why we felt that this is something very important to deal with is because today there is sometimes some tension between Haredim and non-Haredim. One of the issues is really the housing issue. What happened was because the government are not planning enough houses for Haredim, so young couples are moving to secular neighborhoods, and then, like in Kiryat Yovel in Jerusalem, in Beit Shemesh, some other places, and that caused a lot of tension because the people, the residents in this neighborhood are very upset. You're taking over my neighborhood, you're taking over the schools, the shuls, the whatever. The Haredim saying, but we need a place to live. What do you want us to do? We have no place, so we're buying, it's a free country, we can buy an apartment. So we want to prevent these conflicts. We want to create solutions that Haredim can live with Chilonim, but in a way that everybody can live, they have their own needs without conflicts. So this is how we got into the housing plan, and now we're working with the government for the second part of the plan. We wrote a big plan that we have top experts, demographics, geographics, people who experts in finding the status of every area to know, to give the government not just the numbers, how many houses needed, also to give them what are the possibilities, what exists, what are on process in plan, which cities we can expand, which places there is potentially a place that we can build a city. Just recently, last week, the Minister Aryeh Deri, that is the Interior Minister, he, based on our plan, he now find a place in Kiryat Gat, in the center north of Israel, and he's now going to build there a small town, 10,000 apartments, based on our recommendation. The idea was that some of the solutions should be in a mixed cities, but to let Haredim have their own neighborhood, so they should live with Chilonim in the same city, to be a minority, so then it won't be a threat on this other society, so no more than 10-15%, because then there is a benefit, because Haredim, I think it's a very nice community. They can contribute a lot to the other Jewish communities, but they have their own needs, and they want to live, most of them like to live isolated with their neighborhoods, because they have the special needs. They need shuls, they need schools, they need kindergartens, so so you can't just put them in a mixed neighborhood, and then, so the government adapt our plan. This is something that we did together with the housing ministry, and now Aryeh Deri, based on this plan, they find a place to build this city. Now we're working with the government for the second stage of this plan, which is, besides just giving the numbers and the solutions, which places and how many in each place, now we're dealing with, together with the economy ministry and educational ministry and housing ministry and some other institutions in Israel, to say what kind of planning has to be done when you're planning a Haredi area. Because everything needs to be adjusted. For instance, I will give you just one example. The obvious examples are, for sure, there is different kind of school system. So the demographic is different. If you're, let's say, the Israel have a program that when you are building a city and you have, let's say, 10,000 families, so you need, for instance, 50 schools. In Haredim, average family have between 6 to 7 children. So if you will plan the same plan, it's okay, we have, you have a street with 10 buildings, 100 apartments, how many people are living there? It's a different number. So if you want to plan it properly, you have to know the demographic. You have to know there is a difference between high school and yeshiva ktana. So if you're planning a high school, it's not relevant to yeshiva ktana. Yeshiva ktana needs a bet midrash, they need a dining room, some have dormitory. High school need a library, sport area. So what happened till today, so even when the government build something for yeshiva ktana, they say, what's yeshiva ktana? It's a Haredi high school. So it's 4 classes, and you need a library, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and the Haredi said, okay, great. So they did it. After getting everything, then they bring the constructor, they destroy all the walls and try to plan it, because it's not, yeshiva ktana, it's only 3 years, it's not 4 years, they have different needs. So we are now working with the government to write the right programs, how Haredi school looks like, what are the needs. There is a bet midrash. In a regular school, you don't need a bet midrash. In Haredi school, you need to have a bet midrash, because the 6, 7 grades, 8th grade, they need to pray, bet midrash. Also, they start to be ready to yeshiva ktana, so some of the hours they're sitting and learning in chavruta. So even these kind of little things. But I'll give you another example. If you want to plan a garbage can, so there is a formula. For every X apartments, you need to have 1 garbage can. Yeah, but this is, if in 16 apartments, you have families that the average of household is 4 people. What if you're talking about Haredi building that 16 apartment can contain, 140 people? So you will plant the same garbage can, and then you will say, why the Haredi neighborhood always the garbage can is full? Because they have a lot of babies, they have more kids. So even those kind of information we have to provide, and based on this to build a plan. So we are now working on a big plan that will include educational, public areas, commercial, employment, transportation. Also there is different needs because Haredi with the big families, so many of them don't have car, they're using more public transportation. So how many parking lots you need, how many roads for transportation. So all these kind of things we are working to try to provide. And we are so happy, so glad that the government sees us today as the professional address to deal with these kind of plans. I just told you another example about the gemachim.
Yes.
Okay, so you want me to?
Yes, please. It is very interesting concept. It is like a financial
Social bank.
Social bank, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the gemachim.
A financial mitzvah.
Yeah. So this is something very, very interesting in the Haredi community. There is
and this is the Jaredí Institute did the study.
The study about it, yeah. So first I'll explain what the gemachim is about. So gemachim, it's initials of gemilut chasadim, gemach, gimel, memchet, gemilut chasadim. It's doing chesed, helping people. So by the Haredi people, because of the mitzvah of tzedakah and charity, the Torah says that if someone needs your money, you should give him a loan without interest. לא תשאיר לאחיך נשך כסף, right? You shouldn't take interest. If someone needs your money, you should help him. This is your brother, you need to help him. So based on this, the Jewish tradition started an institute called gemachim in every old community. I'm talking about 100 years ago. In Europe it was the Chevra Kadisha. Every Chevra Kadisha that takes care about the community have from the charity that they got from people, they build the gemach. What's the gemach? The gemach is giving loans to people without interest. Chesed. So people look at their money like a property. Say, like you can borrow someone if you have a baby chair that you don't need and your neighbor needs it. So can you borrow? You say, yeah, use it, why not? So for the Jewish people, say, if I have money that now I don't need the money, I'll need it later. I'm keeping it for saving. So meantime, someone else can use the money and I can do gemilut chasadim, I can help this guy. So that's something that used to be personal. Someone came to his neighbor, can you help me if you have money? It's a mitzvah, you have to help. V'chei achicha imach, you have to help your brother to live, it's a mitzvah gedolah. What happened was in Israel, especially in Israel, that started to be a huge institution. And today there is thousands of gemachim, some small, but some of them are huge, big, that are running operation of few billion shekels. It's like huge bank that giving free loans for people. Everybody who needs money can come to the gemach and say, I need money because someone in the family is sick and I need money. I need money because I lost my job and meantime I need some loan till I'll get another job. I marry off my kids. This is the more often used for gemach. Someone is marry off his kids. He needs a lot of money, so he goes to gemach. And you have to, for sure to bring guarantees. They have to check that he's reliable. And then he can get $5,000, $10,000. If it's a big institution, they can get $100,000. If yeshiva has some cash flow problem, you know, the guy who is in charge of the fundraising is now stuck. It's not the right season. Mexico have a problem. You know, Trump wants to build a wall. The currency fall. Now everybody afraid to give money. What should they do? So they go to a gemach and they take a loan, and they can pay the loan. If it's a big loan, sometimes it's just for a few months. But regular loan, paying in a very easy installments, 50 installments, 60 installments. You know, depends on what the guy can do. And this way, the whole economy in the Haredi society flourishing because everybody helps his brother. Okay, so this is the nice part of the story. What happened was, and it's amazing to see it. I just told you, May, that most of those places the people who are running it are volunteers. For instance, we went to visit one of the big gemachim. It's a gemach next to the Yeshivat Mir in Jerusalem. Next to the yeshiva, it's one of the biggest yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, maybe even the biggest in the world. They have like 6,000-7,000 students sitting and learning. And across the street, they have a small apartment. It's like a small bank. And the people are there is 10 people working for this organizations who runs, I think, something around 300 to 400 million shekels a year. Huge. And I asked them, so how many people are getting salaries? And they said, we have 4 women working here, part-time job, so they are getting very, very small salary. And the other 6 managers of the gemach, they are all Talmidei Yeshiva, rabbis from the Yeshiva, who are sitting and learning the whole day. And by the noontime, they're taking a 3 hours break and helping other people. So all the gemach, there is 4 people, they're getting salaries, and the rest, and I'm talking about the gemach who runs like a huge bank, like 300 million shekels. Okay. What happened was that recently there is a regulation started with the Americans that they demand from all the countries in the world to report to them whenever they have a bank account that they have American citizens who have an account there. That's called FATCA. The FATCA is the new rule that the Americans started 2-3 years ago by Obama, that every bank in the world every country must report to the American IRS about every account that the American citizen has. So now, that's because of money laundering, also because they wanted to get more taxes. That was part of Obama's problem. So what happened was that this is something that now affecting also Israel. Till today, many of the gemachim, they are not even an organization. All they have is a bank account. People giving them money, they trust them, they put the money in the bank account, giving to other people. When you need the money back, you call the gemach, you said, okay, in 2 weeks from now I need back my deposit, and you get your deposit back. And now, because of this regulation of the FATCA and also the money laundering in many countries, so the Israeli government wants to do regulation for the gemachim. So the law ministry and some other departments work on writing a law. But this law was a disaster because they didn't understand how the gemachim works. And they said, gemachim, it's a small bank. Okay, so we have to do the same that we are doing with the banks. We have to have a program, we have to have accountants, we have to get annual reports, and so on and so on and so on. And then the gemachim said, okay, but you're going to destroy the whole gemachim because we can't work this way. First, because we're all volunteers. If you want us to work like a profit organization, which will cost us a lot of money, who is going to pay for it? Because we are not charging people for... And also because you have to understand the mentality. You have to understand what's the role of the gemachim in the jaredí society. People look at the gemach also as like their saving account. When someone wants to save money to marry off his kids in 18 years from now, so even, a regular family, so he puts every month $100, where he puts the money, instead of the bank, he goes to the gemach, said, keep it from me. Now I don't need the money, so let someone else get the money and enjoy the money. So the government started to write a law, and the gemachim said it's impossible, we can't live with this. So they came to us. We have a professor from Tel Aviv University, he's a fellow that he's expert in tax and law, his name is Professor Yoram Margaliot. And he's with 2 assistants who work for 8 months, studying in depth there is different kind of gemachim. Some are based on deposits, some are based on contributions, some are like social bank that people are putting deposits and then they can get loans and etc. And he studied in depth to see what's their risk management, how it works, how do you know about to manage the bad debts, what a percentage. One of the Israeli papers wrote that Israeli jaredí gemachim have between 20 to 30% bad debt. Oh, that's awful. If that's the case, so we should close them, because then the government is right, because we have to make sure that people won't lose their money. But I met those institute that write this research. I said, how many gemachim you met before writing this estimation? And he said, none. I just asked some of my friends, Haredim, and they said, gemachim. I said, are you serious? You're dealing with something that it's going to affect the entire community without checking the facts seriously? So then we did a study. We invited the head of Gemachim to share with us the information. By the way, the bad debts in the Gemachim, based on the research that we did, it's below 2%. It's 1.5%, which is lower than the regular loss in banks. How it works, because they have their own way how to keep track on people. If someone is not paying, they have the community taking care about him. So they have a whole system how to risk management. So we worked together with them and we wrote a whole study about it. And just 2 weeks ago, we were invited to the Knesset, the financial committee. The Professor Margaliot presented the study that we did. And now we are working with the legal departments to make the adjustment that the law will be a law that will take care about the regulation needs, because for sure there is concern that you have to make sure that it runs properly, but at the same time it won't destroy such a fantastic initiative that I think can be a model to other communities in the world, not just Jewish communities, to imitate such a nice way of people to give, to help each other. And it's a model of Judaism, of chesed, of giveness, of taking care. And Baruch Hashem, it works.
And what do they do when someone cannot pay?
They have, first, if you want to get a loan, the first step that you have to say, who knows you? It's like, we want to know, if we don't know, give us 3 names of people that knows you. Based on the Jewish geography, if you give us some name, we will know whom to ask. So first we need to know that you are a reliable person, okay, that you can trust you. B, you should report about your income. What are you earning? What your wife? What's the purpose of this loan? Is this something you want to take a loan because you're gambling, or you want to take a loan because you need for food, or you want to have it for marry off your kids? Then every gemach is requiring at least 3 warranties. People that are signing. So if you're not paying, the gemach goes to him and takes the money from them. And I have to tell you, they are very tough. Meaning, I was in one of the meetings in the gemach that one rabbi came to say, do us a favor, someone signed and he paid part of the money, but he can't pay the rest. Can you do a favor? And they were very tough. No, we are running it like a business. Then people paying because they feel that they have to pay, even if it's hard for them, because the gemach did them a favor. And so the gemach have, or people who gave the guarantee, so they can go to them. Sometimes the community helps this guy, so they can go to the community, because it's a community project. So even if you have someone, I know a story about someone that cheated the gemach. He get a loan and he told him, okay, do me a transfer and I'll pay you. And he didn't fill all the papers. It was a lot of money. So the gemach did. They went to the community leaders in his community. It was a Hasidic community, and said, listen, this guy is from your community and he was cheating us. You have to do something. And they said, we can do. He's someone that have many problems. And they said, no problem. From now on, all your community is blocked in our gemach. Until this problem will be resolved, don't ask us anymore for money. And very soon, they took care, they put pressure on him, they pay back. So they're using very unusual ways to use the community connection, the community responsibility to make sure. But it's run, they have computer programs with keeping records of everybody that knows when was the last time he took a loan, did he pay well, didn't he pay well. They can share information between gemachim, someone, if it's a big loan, so they can check with other gemach. Usually also they are giving you a very affordable installments. So they are not asking someone to pay something that he can't. So you have to pay back $100 a month, $200 a month. Sometimes someone gets into trouble, so they will make them a new installments to help them, to make it easy for them, because they want to help. So they, on one hand, trying the best to accommodate, to help the people, but on the other hand, when it comes, because they are responsible for their deposits, because at the end of the day, people one day will come to ask for the deposit, so they have to be very tough to make sure that they are responsible. So then, if you're not paying, you know that you're done. Nobody anymore will give you a loan. So this is another incentive. You can go to another gemach, maybe to a small one, but to a serious gemach, because very, very soon it will be a record that you are someone that is not reliable, and you want to use it again and again. So when I was young, for instance, I had $150,000, some money I want to put in saving, so I put it in the gemach. And then after a few years, I wanted to do some investment, so I called the gemach. I asked them how many days you need me to give you an answer that they need the money? So a week. After a week, they gave me a check, $150,000. Sometimes if a small gemach, there is big gemachim and small. Let's say a small gemach gets, let's say his all deposits are 100,000 shekels. A small gemach. And 50 is from one person who gave the money. Imagine that one day this guy comes and said, okay, I need my money back, so they have a problem. So then the big gemachim are helping the small gemach, so they're giving them a loan instead of stopping the gemach and not giving any more money. He can go to the big gemach and say, okay, can you now give me 50,000 shekels so I can pay back this loan, and I'll pay you back slowly when the people will pay me. So this is also what we call in Hebrew, Kol Israel Arevim Ze Lazeh. So it's a model that's based on trust, on giveness, on care that people want to help each other, but it's done in a very sophisticated and nice way. And as you mentioned, I think that it was some small village, I don't know where, in Kenya or someone, that they did something small, that they create an community economy that everybody helps everybody. So they got a Nobel Prize for it. By the way, along the line didn't work, this system there. So the gemachim is a model that we want to share with the rest of the world. Now Professor Margaliot is writing an academic article about this model as an economy model that can be adapted, and this is a Kiddush Hashem, that people can learn from our values and our society how you can run something that is not just to do chesed. It's to do chesed, but in a very sophisticated way, that you will give people, but you will help people in a way that down the road will help them to live better, and not just to give them money like the banks that give you sometimes loan that you can't pay. They won't give you if you can't pay. So they will say, okay, you should go maybe to a charity that give you some food, but we won't give you gemach, because gemach is for someone who can pay back. So this is, I think, a nice model of the Jewish community. And this is some of the things that we're trying in our institute to work with the Haredi culture, that they have so many nice things in the society, and try to work to find what's the model and how this model can work, and B, sometimes to try to understand what the government needs, what the community needs, and try to build together a plan that will be a win-win. In employment, kids at risk, taxes. We now work a new plan of taxes plan that deals with the big families, what should be the system. So this is really a very new initiative. It's the first and the only Haredi think tank, but it's not just Haredim. As I said, it's secular professors with Haredi people working together, hand to hand, to try to do something to the benefit of the community, the Haredi, and the entire community in Israel.
What is the influence in the government now in this?
Politic-wise?
Yes.
Yeah, today, as we all aware, that they are very powerful, even though that they have, together today, they have the Knesset 15 seats, if I'm not mistaken, 7 and 8, 7 from Yadut Torah and 8 from Shas, but they are working together, so they know that every coalition in Israel now needs to work also with the Haredim. Everybody understands now, and the good news is that the old politic of the Haredim was that they were mainly focusing on trying to help their community. Today, Baruch Hashem, what changed is that we have a Minister Litzman. He's Hasid, and he's today the health minister. He's not dealing with providing Haredim health solution. He deals with the health system, and he does so many great things with hospitals, with MRI, with the food and everything. And I think this is something new that's happening in the Haredi society in Israel, that the politicians start to understand that the role is not just, it is important because they have to take care about their community and the special needs of the Haredi community, but at the same time they are part of the Israeli society, and they have to bring their talent and abilities and ideas to help the rest of the country. And this is something that I'm very happy to see. People like Litzman, that is today considered, I think, the first. He rated as the first minister that people appreciate what he's doing for his ministry. We have Gaffney, that is in charge of the financial committee. And again, he deals with everything. He deals with regulation, with the gays issues. And I think this is a community that can contribute a lot to the Israeli society. We're talking about a very high quality people, very talented people, very out of the box thinking, part of sitting and learning so many years in yeshiva, get people also some capable Jewish talents, the Jewish talents to improvise, to think out of the box, and sometimes it's something that has some added value. I even heard from friends of mine who are dealing in the high-tech industry that they love now to hire jaredí because say most of our programmers are coming from the same pattern. They went to a high school, they went to 8200 at the army, so they're all coming from the same culture. When we are hiring jaredí lady or jaredí man to work for us, he comes with different culture that helps the team to come with different ideas, different ways. And this is something that people start to appreciate, that the Haredim, beside of their values as a Torah community that have a lot what to share with their other brothers about how you can live a nice family life, keeping Shabbat, appreciating learning. It's not given in today with all the attractions that we have around it. People can devote their life for years to sit and study and learn. Even here in Mexico, I was so impressed to see the yeshivot here. People can go and do business, can do whatever they want, and they chosen because they feel that they have a mission to continue the Jewish heritage, Masoret Yehudit, and to devote their life to continue to learn what their fathers were learning, what their grandfathers were learning, over 2,000 years a tradition, and this is something that contributes so much to the community, because we need everything. We need doctors, we need engineers, but we need also people that can bring the community to continue the Jewish heritage. And this is something that we're so blessed that we have people that they are devoting their life to keep studying Torah, contributing to continue the Masoret that we have from generation to generation. Then they're becoming rabbis. I met so many rabbis here in Mexico. I went yesterday to Mount Sinai. They have a Talmud Torah. You have like 200 people coming every evening, business people, and taking classes in Torah. This is something very unique. Instead of sitting watching TV, or I don't know, going to the horse gambling here, how you call it? Hippodrome. They're coming. I was very moved to see it. For me, unbelievable to go. For me, I'm now visiting the communities in South America, and I'm so impressed to meet such a nice Jewish life here. I must add, I met you today, I heard about your website. I'm so impressed. So impressed to see how much talent and how much Jewish commitment you have in your work. I really want to wish you Hatzlacha, to continue to double the amount of people that you have, to triple the amount of people, because you're doing so important things for the community. I would like to help whatever we can help to contribute from our publication to your site. Hopefully soon we will start our Spanish edition, so then maybe we'll have more content to share with you. But everything, I went to Magen David, I went to and to see the community is flourishing, and the Jewish connection here. No matter if you're Jaredí, not Jaredí, everybody's affiliated to the community. And Rabbi Tubel from the Mount Sinai, Tovel, he told me you have to know that Mexico have the lowest intermarriage rate in the entire Jewish world. He said we're talking about, it's also a big number, but it's talking about around 5%, comparing to other countries that we're talking about 60, 70%. We're losing our future. And to see the model here in Mexico, such a community, that by creating a community sense, you can do sport in the community, you can do, I don't know, play cards, no matter, and for sure coming and learning Torah and seeing Judaism in your website. But this is something that creates a Jewish connection and I think this is something, a model that I would like to share with my readers. Mexico, you are great.
Thank you very much.